I want you to lift the lid off your toilet tank right now. Go ahead, I'll wait. Look at the inside walls. Look at the bottom. Look at that fill valve sticking up in the middle. See that orange-brown ring? See that black slime clinging to the sides like it grew there on purpose? That's not dirt. That's not something a splash of bleach fixes for good. I've been called out to houses where the owner swears they clean their toilet every single week, and their tank looks like something out of a swamp. So I grabbed a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, poured it straight into the tank, and walked away for 20 minutes. What I found when I came back changed how I clean every tank I touch now. Not because it's some miracle chemical, it's not, but because of what it revealed underneath all that gunk. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to look at your toilet tank completely differently, and you're going to understand why almost nobody cleans it the right way. Here's the thing about a toilet tank. Nobody looks in there until something goes wrong. The bowl gets scrubbed every week, sometimes twice a week if you've got kids or guests coming over. The tank lid just sits there, closed, ignored, doing its job quietly in the background. And that's exactly the problem. Water sits in that tank between flushes, sometimes for hours, and it's not moving, it's not getting any fresh air, and it's collecting minerals every single time the tank refills. I've pulled tank lids off in houses where the family was genuinely shocked, not surprised, shocked. One woman told me she thought something had died in there. It hadn't. What she was looking at was months, sometimes years of mineral buildup mixed with mold spores that thrive in that dark, damp, still environment. The overflow tube, the fill valve, the underside of the flapper, these are all places water touches constantly but almost never gets scrubbed. The reason most people don't catch it early is simple. The tank isn't part of the visible bathroom. You don't see it when you walk in, you don't see it when you sit down, and unless you're the one changing a flapper or fixing a slow fill, you've probably never had a reason to open that lid in years. By the time someone finally looks, usually because the toilet starts running constantly or smelling off, the buildup is thick, it's stained into the plastic or porcelain, and a quick wipe isn't touching it anymore. Why it happens? Let's get into why this actually happens, because understanding the cause changes how you approach the fix. This isn't random dirt falling into your tank. It's a slow, predictable process, and once you see it, you'll notice it in every house you walk into. First, the water. Even clean tap water carries dissolved minerals, calcium, magnesium, iron in some areas, and trace organic matter depending on your municipal supply or well system. Every time your tank refills, a small amount of water evaporates slowly between flushes, especially in a tank that isn't used constantly. What doesn't evaporate leaves behind whatever was dissolved in it. That's how you get those ring lines on the inside of the tank. Each one is basically a water level from weeks or months ago, marking exactly where the surface sat before it dropped a little from evaporation. I've seen tanks with 6 or 7 of these rings stacked on top of each other, like tree rings, except instead of telling you the tank's age, they're telling you how inconsistent the water level has been. Second, and this is the part most people don't think about, that tank is dark, humid, and almost never gets disturbed. That's basically a laboratory setup for mold in certain bacteria. Black and pink discoloration in a toilet tank usually isn't dirt at all, it's biological growth. Pink is often a bacteria that loves moist environments, and it shows up in tanks, shower tracks, humidifiers, anywhere there's standing water and low light. Black is typically mold, and it clings to rubber parts especially. The flapper, the gaskets, the seals around the fill valve. These are all places water touches constantly, but almost never gets scrubbed. The third factor, and this one surprises people, rust. If you've got an older toilet or you live in a house with galvanized or older iron piping somewhere in the system, you're introducing trace iron into that water every single fill cycle. Iron oxidizes. That's just chemistry. Iron plus water plus oxygen equals rust. Every time. No exceptions. It doesn't matter if it's a tiny amount per fill. Multiply that by thousands of flushes over a few years, and you get a visible orange-brown stain baked into the plastic or porcelain, especially right at the waterline, where oxygen exposure is highest. Now here's where the hydrogen peroxide experiment actually gets interesting, and it's the part that surprised me even after doing this for years. Hydrogen peroxide is what's called an oxidizer. When it touches organic material, mold, bacteria, biofilm, it breaks down into water and oxygen, and that oxygen release is what does the actual work. You'll actually see it fizz slightly against the buildup, especially in the worst spots. That fizzing isn't for show. It's the peroxide breaking down organic matter on contact, lifting it away from the surface it was clinging to. On mineral deposits, it doesn't work the same way, because those aren't organic, they're mineral. So peroxide alone won't touch a hard rust ring the way it'll tear through mold. That's the distinction almost nobody explains properly online. Peroxide is fantastic against biological grime, but it's not your tool for mineral scale. You need something acidic for that. I'll get into exactly how I combine both later, because using just one or the other is why so many people try this and think it didn't work. But there's one detail people always miss when they try this themselves, and it's the one that actually determines whether your tank stays clean or goes right back to looking like a swamp in 3 weeks. I'll walk you through that once we get past the mistakes people keep making. All right, let's talk about what people actually try, because I've seen every version of this go wrong, and there's a reason each one fails. Mistake 1. Dumping bleach in and calling it done. This is the most common thing I see, and I get why. Bleach is cheap, it's in every house, and it definitely kills what's growing in there. But bleach has 2 problems in a toilet tank specifically. First, it's harsh on rubber. Your flapper, the fill valve, seals any rubber gasket in that tank. Bleach breaks that rubber down over time. I've replaced more flappers in houses that bleach the tank every month than in houses that never touch it at all. The chlorine literally degrades the rubber, makes it brittle, and eventually you've got a flapper that won't seal right, which means your toilet runs constantly and you're paying for water you're not even using. Second problem, bleach doesn't touch mineral buildup. It's fantastic at killing mold and bacteria, genuinely great at that part, but that orange rust ring or that chalky white mineral line, bleach does nothing to it. So people bleach their tank, feel good because the smell changes and the black stuff might lighten up a little, but the actual staining is still sitting there because they used the wrong tool for that part of the job. And there's a real safety issue too. If anyone in the house ever mixes bleach with a toilet bowl cleaner that contains ammonia or acid, and a lot of them do, you get toxic fumes in an enclosed bathroom. I've had people tell me they felt lightheaded cleaning their bathroom and had no idea why. That's usually why. Mistake 2, scrubbing with anything abrasive. I understand the instinct. You see a hard water ring, your first thought is scrub it like you'd scrub a pan. People grab steel wool, scouring pads, even sandpaper in some cases. I've genuinely seen sandpaper used on a porcelain tank. Here's the problem. Porcelain has a glaze on it, a smooth, sealed surface, and that glaze is what keeps stains from soaking in and keeps the surface easy to clean. Once you scratch through that glaze with something abrasive, you've created thousands of microscopic grooves. And now, every mineral deposit, every bit of grime has somewhere to physically grab onto instead of sitting on a smooth surface. So the tank looks better for a week, and then it stains faster and harder than before because you've turned a smooth surface into sandpaper for dirt. Plastic tanks are even worse for this because plastic scratches easier than porcelain. Once that surface is scuffed up, it goes cloudy, it holds onto grime permanently, and there is no scrubbing your way back from that. You're stuck with it looking dull forever, or you're replacing the tank. Mistake 3, using vinegar alone and expecting it to fix everything. Vinegar is popular because it's natural, it's cheap, and honestly, it does work on mineral deposits. Acetic acid breaks down calcium and lime buildup pretty effectively if you give it time. But here's what people get wrong. They pour vinegar in, wait 10 minutes, flush, and expect a miracle. Mineral deposits that have been building for months or years aren't dissolving in 10 minutes. That's not how the chemistry works. Acetic acid needs contact time and it needs concentration. Straight vinegar poured into a full tank of water is instantly diluted the moment it hits that standing water, which cuts its effectiveness down dramatically. You're basically cleaning with weak, watered-down vinegar and wondering why the ring is still there. The other issue is vinegar does nothing meaningful against mold and biofilm the way peroxide does. So if you've got both mineral staining and biological growth, which, let's be honest, most tanks have both, vinegar alone leaves you half-finished. People try it, see partial results, get discouraged, and go back to just ignoring the tank entirely, which is worse than any of the methods above, because now the buildup just keeps compounding. There's a pattern in all three of these mistakes, and once you see it, the actual fix becomes obvious. People are reaching for one product that's good at one job and expecting it to handle two completely different problems at the same time. That's the piece almost every cleaning tutorial online skips over completely, and it's exactly why so many people try 3 or 4 different products before giving up on the tank altogether. Here's how I actually do this, step by step, the way I'd walk a homeowner through it if I was standing in their bathroom right now. Stage 1. Shut off the water and drain the tank. Find the shutoff valve. It's almost always at the wall behind the toilet low down near the floor. Turn it clockwise until it stops. Then flush the toilet with the lid off so you can watch the tank drain completely. Hold the flush handle down for an extra few seconds to get as much water out as possible. You want the tank as empty as you can get it, not just flushed once. There's usually a small amount left at the bottom. That's normal. Don't worry about getting it bone dry. Stage 2. Assess what you're actually dealing with. This is the step almost everybody skips, and it's the one that matters most. Before you clean anything, look at what you've got. Is it mostly dark staining, black or pink, soft to the touch, almost slimy? That's biological. That's your peroxide's job. Is it hard, chunky, orange, or white and it doesn't wipe off with your finger? That's mineral. That's an acid's job. Most tanks have both, usually in different spots. Biological growth tends to sit lower where water sits stagnant longest. Mineral rings tend to sit right at the old water lines. Knowing which is which before you start means you're not wasting product or time attacking the wrong problem with the wrong tool. Stage 3. Hit the biological growth first. Pour hydrogen peroxide directly onto the black or pink buildup. 3% concentration. The standard brown bottle stuff from any pharmacy is fine. You don't need anything stronger. Let it sit for a full 20 minutes. You'll see it start to fizz slightly on contact with the organic grime. That's the oxygen release doing its job, breaking down the mold and bacteria. Don't wipe it during this time. Just let it work. After 20 minutes, take an old toothbrush or a small scrub brush, something with actual bristle stiffness, not a sponge, and go over every spot where that growth was. It should come away much easier than it would have before treatment. Rinse your brush as you go so you're not just smearing it around. Stage 4. Tackle the mineral deposits. Now for the hard rings and rust staining. This is where I use straight white vinegar, but not diluted, and not just poured in and forgotten. Soak a rag or a few paper towels in vinegar and actually press them directly against the stained areas. Stick them to the tank wall right on the ring line. This keeps concentrated acid in direct contact with the mineral deposit instead of letting it dilute into open tank water. Leave that for a solid 30 minutes, longer if the staining is old and thick. I've left it up to 2 hours on really bad rust rings. Then scrub with a non-abrasive pad, a nylon scrub pad, not steel wool, not anything with metal in it. You want something with enough texture to break the deposit loose without scratching the glaze underneath it. For genuinely stubborn rust rings that vinegar alone won't fully clear, this is where a paste of baking soda and a small amount of that same hydrogen peroxide comes in useful. Baking soda gives you the mild abrasive action without scratching, and the peroxide helps lift what's left behind. Apply it, let it sit 15 minutes, then scrub again. Stage 5. Don't forget the moving parts. Everyone cleans the tank walls and completely ignores the flapper, the fill valve, and the overflow tube. These are rubber and plastic components that mold loves to grip onto, and if you leave them dirty, they're just going to reseed the whole tank with growth again within a couple weeks. Wipe the flapper down with a peroxide-soaked cloth, get into the fill valve base where it meets the bottom of the tank, and check inside the overflow tube, that vertical tube in the middle, because buildup loves to collect right at its rim where it's constantly damp but rarely disturbed. Here's my pro tip, and this is the thing that separates a tank that stays clean for months from one that's back to looking rough in 3 weeks. After you've finished cleaning everything, before you turn the water back on, take a dry microfiber cloth and actually dry the interior surfaces as much as you can reach. Mold and mineral buildup both need moisture sitting still to really take hold. A tank that goes back to standing water immediately after cleaning starts the whole cycle over again right away. Giving it even a few minutes minutes dry, especially around the rubber components, slows down how fast that biofilm reestablishes itself. It's a small step, it takes maybe 2 extra minutes, and it's the one thing I've never seen mentioned in a single online tutorial, but it's made a measurable difference in every tank I maintain on a schedule. Stage 6. Rinse and refill. Once everything's scrubbed and wiped, do one more pass with a clean, damp cloth to pick up any loosened residue sitting at the bottom of the tank. You don't want that redepositing once water starts filling back in. Turn your shutoff valve back on slowly, let the tank fill, and flush twice with the lid off just to watch that everything's moving the way it should. Flapper sealing properly, fill valves shutting off at the right level, no leaks around the base. Stage 7. Maintain it so you're not doing this deep clean again for a long time. Once a month, drop a small amount of hydrogen peroxide into the tank, let it sit for 10 minutes, then flush. You're not doing a full scrub every time, you're just interrupting the biological growth cycle before it ever gets a foothold. Every 3 to 4 months, do a quick vinegar wipe around the waterline to catch mineral buildup before it hardens into a stubborn ring. This maintenance routine takes maybe 5 minutes, and it's the difference between doing this deep clean once a year versus fighting a swamp-looking tank every few months. One last thing worth mentioning. If your tank refills with visible rust-colored water every single time, regardless of how clean the tank itself is, that's not a cleaning problem anymore. That's a plumbing problem. Usually old galvanized pipe corroding somewhere in your line. No amount of tank cleaning fixes water that's already rusty coming out of the wall. If you're seeing that, it's worth having someone look at your supply line, because you'll just be cleaning the same stain right back into existence every month otherwise. That's the full method, start to finish, and it's exactly what I use whether I'm cleaning a tank that's been neglected for years or just doing routine maintenance on one I've worked on before. The tank is one of those spots that separates people who clean surface level from people who actually understand what's happening behind the scenes in their own bathroom. If you tried this on your own tank, let me know in the comments what you found under that lid. I read through these and I'm always curious whether it's mostly mineral staining, mostly biological growth, or that combination most tanks end up with. And if you've got a cleaning problem in your house you've never been able to fully solve, drop it below. I go through the comments looking for video ideas, and some of the best topics I've covered came directly from someone describing a specific mess they couldn't figure out. If this helped you understand your toilet tank a little better, subscribe for more of this. I cover the parts of a house that most cleaning channels skip past because they're not glamorous, but they're the parts that actually cause problems down the line. And if you want to go deeper on hard water specifically, I've got a video breaking down exactly what's happening with hard water stains throughout your whole bathroom, not just the tank, shower doors, faucets, the works. That one pairs well with what you just watched, since a lot of the same mineral behavior we talked about here shows up everywhere else water sits and evaporates in your house. Take care of the parts nobody sees. That's usually where the real problems start.